Thanks for tuning in with us for this episode of the Good News Bay podcast, where we are making Bay County brighter one conversation at a time. I'm so excited today to have with us the faces of Think Real Estate, the brains behind Think Real Estate. They've got a huge team at this point, and I am glad to have Zack Sanchez and Cody Shields here with us, or B. Cody Shields. I'm not sure how we have to say that.
Make sure you get it right.
I call you Cody, but yeah.
Yeah, however, you can call me anything. Just call me.
Yep. Well, I'm excited to have you guys on. I hope that we learned some cool news. I got no doubt this is going to probably be the funnest episode ever. And maybe y'all can loosen me up a little bit. But as we begin the conversation, I just want to get a little background info on each of you.
Let's do it.
And Zack, I'm going to start with you. You were married to Olivia.
Yep.
And y'all got married back in 2018. You got a daughter named Vivian.
Yep, 15 months old.
That's still young.
Yeah, and we got a 7 months old wife, pregnant wife. So due with my second daughter August 17th.
I've got a name here. I'm allowed to share that name?
Absolutely.
Violet Elizabeth.
Violet Elizabeth. Correct.
And since Vivian is your first daughter, what is her middle name? Do you mind me asking?
Elena.
Vivian Elena and Violet Elizabeth. Ladies love that stuff, and it's cool. I know that you are so proud of your family, and rightly so. You are a local product here from the community.
Raised.
Yep.
Not going nowhere, Lord willing.
I hope not. Mosley, Gulf Coast, FSU, PC, got a degree in business administration.
Yep. So, like you just said, Gulf Coast Community College, and went straight across the street to FSU PC and ran right to work.
At the ripe age of 18.
Little known fact, your mom and dad owned Chulas.
Yeah, they used to own it until we sold it right after the hurricane.
And you ran that for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It was a fun and interesting time.
It was good stuff.
I
went there a few times, yeah. I want to know, and I hadn't gotten really through all this. We're going to interject anytime, Cody.
Hey,
I know it's going to be hard. I'm starting with you, Zack, because I want to make sure you get your word counted.
I'm patient. I don't like to talk. Let him go.
So, Zack, tell me about your growing up, because I know I was talking. Cody set you up here, man, because he gave me some scoop.
Okay.
I know your mom and dad are from Puerto Rico.
Yep.
And so you moved here, or they moved here. Tell me when did you move here?
So they moved here, I think probably, if I'm 29, probably 40 years ago now.
Yep.
And my mom and dad, their best friend, he was working at the paper mill here at the time. And my parents just knew they wanted a better life for us than in Puerto Rico. And so they moved here because they felt that was the right call on their life to move here. They didn't know anybody but their best friend. And they moved here, and my dad's been very blessed with some jobs, meeting people in the church. We joined the Rock Church.
Yep.
And we've been going there ever since. And so when they moved. I was born and raised here, hence my southern accent, and I love it. So I've been born and raised here, and my father and mother were very big on certain ideals and making you work hard and things like that, and so. I'm very grateful to my mom and dad for instilling a lot of great things in me growing up.
No, that's awesome. Before we move on from the church side of it, I think it'd be cool for you to be able to give a shout out to your church, your pastor. You said you go to the Rock? Yeah,
so I've grew up at the Rock Church my whole life, and I guess as of 2 weeks ago, we renamed it the Tribe.
I wanted you to tell us I wanted you to be able to say that.
So the renaming of the church is the Tribe. So we're still in the same location and everything, just new name.
So if we wanted to look the church up, how would we do that?
Phone book, go online? Go online to the Rock, Bay County.
Did you say phone book?
I did say that. That's horrible.
They still have phone books?
They have one of those. I had one of our parents tell us lately that they had to explain to their child what that was. I thought I was going to explain it to you. I should not have used that term.
If you call, there's a busy signal. That's gracious.
You're killing me, Cody. So, I want to hear your pastor's name. Because you're proud of your pastor.
Yeah, Mark Gerles.
They need to know that. Yeah. Mark Gerles at the Tribe Church. Cool. So, I heard a story. Actually, I saw part of the beginnings of Think Real Estate in a Facebook post, but I also know that you, at the age of 15, had saved a little money, and you had a choice to make. This just goes back to some of that hard work and that upbringing. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
I was 15 years old, and as every young 15-year-old male wants, they want that cool sports car.
Yep.
So I'd always wanted a Mustang convertible. Like that, I don't know why. That was all I ever wanted.
Lime green?
No, this
What
was
color?
Green was not color wasn't an option.
That's true.
You know, this was you were just grateful to have a Mustang convertible. And so, as my father loves to do in my life, is always give me learning lessons and opportunities every time. I'm 15. I'm like, all right, Dad, I'm car hunting, and he goes, all right, I got 2 options for you. Option 1 is whatever you saved up, I'll match, and we'll buy whatever car you want. We'll go on the car lot, and I'll take my cash, you take yours, and we'll buy you whatever you want. And I'm like, all right, I got 15 grand. He can put 15, and we can afford a brand new Mustang. Like, this is good. We're going in the right direction. He goes, or there's a piece of land that somebody in the church is willing to own or finance. You can put a down payment on it, and I know what the payments are, and I know what you make, and you can make payments on it. And I think that's the right move for you. And but I'll let you make that decision. So I really wanted a Mustang, and I battled it hard. But like I said, I grew up where you honor your father and your mother and decisions that they make. And so I said, you're my dad. I trust you. So if that's the one you say I should make,
that's stout.
No, I know.
that's the one I'm going to make. So did that. And then when I was 19, we built a house on it and just sold it a few months ago and used those proceeds to buy C&G sporting goods. So little did I know what that decision at 15 would have done 14 years later for me.
I know that y'all have made an announcement about this, and it's obviously not in the phone book anywhere. But
it probably is.
We have a number of folks that do follow. A lot of our viewers actually follow Facebook. We're also a podcast, so there are people that are going to listen to this that are old school Bay County.
Yeah.
That they didn't hear that the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just say that you bought C&G Sporting Goods?
So me and a business partner of mine, Scott Pippin, we closed on it on May 14th. We purchased it, and it was a total God thing, and that's probably a story for another day. But it was I've never hunted or fished a day in my life. Never been in that store at all, and it's amazing the amount of I don't know what to say, culture there of the people of Bay County that love that store. I mean, I was in there one day and the guy goes, if you change anything, I'll kill you. I was like, oh my Lord, wow.
He probably had a gun on him too.
I was like, you probably got a gun, knife, everything. And
well, the rumor is that you guys are wanting to try to keep the culture to some extent and the history and the heritage. Is that true?
Yeah, I said, hey guys, when we go in this, I want to have a 70% tradition, 30% innovation. And I want to honor what came before us. So everything we do, we're going to look at it with a 70% tradition and 30% innovation because we got to keep on moving forward. Mr. Groom wouldn't want us to stay where we're at. He even told us that when he passed on was this place can do a lot more with the right people, and I'd like for you to do that. So that's what we're going to do.
I've tried my hard not
go ahead and interject right.
But what I think is so cool about it is I get to see a lot that people don't get to see about this guy. You know what I'm saying? They get to see like Mr. Stoic and everything, but like they don't get to see. They might see.
Are you saying he's the quieter one in the relationship?
He is. But like they might see like this, but they don't get to see all this that happened even before I came along. And like the sermon that you had a while back about the sowing and reaping, like what a absolute perfect example of like I wish there's some 15-year-old kids that could watch this and be like, wow, like the decisions you make at 15 truly can change the direction of your life. It's crazy.
So my team knows that this is going to go every which way but loose as far as whatever we've got down here. I want to share a leadership principle because I think you guys are both leaders, and it goes to sowing and reaping. I have at times people that want to do what I do, and it's hard to explain how long it's taken. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm a guy to model that, but they're young preachers or whatever. It's like, I want to do that. There are those that see how fun what you guys do is, and they're like, I want to do that. John Maxwell, I heard this on a podcast of his recently. It was a leadership quote, and he says, everybody wants to do what I do, but not everybody's willing to do what I did.
Yep.
And so they want the do, but they don't want the did.
Yep.
And you are a testament. So 15, I hate you. Yeah. Your skin is handling the Northwest Florida sun well. How old are you?
29.
29.
Yeah, 29.
You've come a long way fast.
Yeah.
But in a modern world, sometimes even that doesn't feel fast enough. But they're probably, as I was asking a local about you, he indicated that, because I was like, what does that like to do? And you love your family, but you work a lot. And that's not a negative. The guys that are really good at it and love it, they love it. It's what they do. I need to be quiet, but I mean, you've worked pretty hard to get to where you've gotten, right?
Yeah, I look back and I've probably worked at least 30 hours a week since I was 13, 14. And I just now in the past few years really reaped the true benefits of all the work. I mean, I can remember times, and I'm sure this will speak for people in your churches, I remember doing Valentine's Day dinners with one of our chefs, and I'm in there scrubbing dishes and cooking plates of food for 300 people with the chef, and it's 12 p.m. and they're like, nah, let me. I'm like, nah, it's all good. I'm sowing my seed for one day somebody else, It's important to sow that seed early and just keep watering it, and you just never know what God could do in an instance. I was telling Cody the story of Joseph. Obviously, everybody knows it, but like he went from here to here so fast, and we just tend to put God in a box, and it's just don't put him in a box. Let him do his thing.
We run into a problem when we start putting God in a box, especially when we've got the scriptures as our, not to get preachy, but we've got the scriptures like as our guidelines of what he's revealed to us about himself. But when we put him in boxes and say that my box is better than your box, and that doesn't make a lot of sense. Just let God be God. Mm-hmm. I love it. Real quick before we move on to Cody a little bit, related to your background, I asked him, I said, you play a little soccer.
Yeah. So I grew up playing soccer since I was 4 or 5 years old, and my older brother played it, my sister played it, we all played it. So we spent our whole lives growing up until I was in high school. I really wanted to make it my goal to graduate college when I was 18.
Well, one other thing to make people smile. Cody takes credit for allowing you, I think, getting you to the place vehicle-wise where somebody like Olivia Crosby would recognize you and say, hey, he could be a great catch.
I think this is where I step in.
Tell us the story.
I think this is where I step in. So
set him straight, Zach.
No, correct me if I'm wrong.
He's absolutely right in this one area.
This is boy. Yeah, you're right. He said that before you said it. So.
Right, exactly. So Zach and I were, really good friends, gym buddies and everything. And Zach had been, when you work a lot, resources come, right? So Zach had plenty of resources, as in dollars, at a few years back, and before him and Olivia met, he still lived at home with his parents. We could have easily moved out, and I kept.
So expenses were low. Income was good. That's how you accrue money, right?
He was accruing money, and he drove this old beater Camry. Nothing wrong with Camrys at all. Great vehicles, but it was old. What year was it?
That was a pristine 03 Toyota Camry, and it only had 100,000 miles on it.
It looked like it had more than 100,000.
They were hard miles.
They were hard. It was a hard 100,000. I'm telling you. And so I was like, Zach, listen, man, like I care about you. Like it's time. You need to get a lady in your life, because this guy was the biggest flirt. He was voted biggest flirt at Mosley, right?
That was long ago.
Long ago. But a lot of people wouldn't believe
Everybody's gonna be digging you.
Yeah, I know. I'm digging you in. So I was like, dude, it's time. And I was like, the Camry's got to go. And he's like, no. If a woman wants me for my car, I was like, I'm just telling you, you need to. Sure enough, he goes out, he buys him a nice Tundra, a nice white Tundra. He puts some, put a little lift on it, put some nice, wheels and tires, and lo and behold,
in walks Olivia.
In comes this beautiful blonde girl, and here we are today.
Olivia's like, yeah, if you're driving that car, I just don't know what
Olivia will tell you. Hey.
It's true.
So what are you going to
do? What would you have done if y'all had not met at the gym so you could get advice on lots of things, right?
There's no telling where this guy would be.
There's no telling where you would be.
There's no telling where this guy would be. No, there's no telling where I would be. That's true.
Well, it is. You both like to have fun. You created an incredible culture at Think Real Estate.
Thank you.
And it's a fun culture. I want to talk about that in just a little bit. But there's you definitely have the MO, Zach, of being the financial wizard behind the scenes, and then the creative side. And I know you've got some and can be, but a lot of the more what am I trying to say? The stronger personality, the more flamboyant,
the louder,
the one with the louder
he's
colors.
In charge of the fun meter. It's a very important meter.
The fun meter.
Yes, he's in charge. It's a very
people don't know
factor.
that he's a lot more creative than people give him credit for.
Whose idea was the game station in the office? Didn't y'all do a thing like trying to figure out what kind of game station to get?
Well, we haven't gotten it yet. We're still waiting. I guess.
Is that in the 77 location? Or is that on the beach?
Well, it was. I think it's kind of like the whole carrot in front of the horse to make me and the others run.
Yeah.
I want it for Christmas.
Well, you know what to do.
Work harder. Yes, sir.
I want to talk about family, but I'm gonna forget to come back to the fun.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly like I love Jesus, and you guys love Jesus, and I give y'all a ton of credit for everything I know about the two of you, and I know you pretty stinking well. I know you fairly well also. Respect both of you. You have a lot of fun, so I'm not necessarily the guy that they think of when they think of fun, right? Because like
I do.
Huh?
I do.
I wasn't most flirty at Mosley. I'll say that. I was the wallflower guy, right?
Okay.
And so I don't need to know how to have that kind of fun, but I do want to know. You've created an extremely fun culture that people. I mean, how many agents do y'all have now?
I think we're like 45 or something like that, close to 50, something like that.
And I know they all want to earn a living for their families.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also coming because it looks like it's a lot of fun to hang out with Zack and Cody.
Well, I appreciate that. A good one of our top agents and a friend of mine, he joined us, and he actually started. I didn't know this until he joined us. It's Scott Kirkman. I'll give Scott a shout out. And Scott told me, he said, yeah, man, like the reason I got my real estate license was because of you. And I was like, well, okay, that's cool. And he said, I always did my live videos and stuff like that. And he's like, you just really made it sound like it just looked like you were having fun. And I was like, well, I appreciate that. And then he was like, and then I thought to myself, well, if he can do it, if Cody can be halfway decent, I know I should be okay. I'm dead serious. That's what he said. Like, he's like, I mean it with all due respect.
There's everybody's encouragement for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're like, if you can do it, being as goofy and as you are, I should be okay. And I was like, well, there you go. Whatever.
Just sowing and reaping, man.
There you go, sowing and reaping. So, no, I mean, I know. So before Zack got like super stoic, now he puts on a front. Some of it's because he has to be. I like to say we're both number ones, but he's 1A, I'm 1B. So when you're 1A, you can't be the guy that's on top of the desk acting like a bear.
You have
crazy.
to be. Y'all need to go on Facebook and see that little episode.
But he can't do that.
No, most grown men can't.
Most grown men shouldn't. But he has to be the one that's getting attacked by the bear.
Yes.
I'm the 1B is allowed to be a little bit out there.
It wouldn't be what it is without Zack and Cody.
I'm
Cody
the one who
and
has
Zack.
to know that what you do when a grizzly bear attacks you versus a black bear.
Right.
See, he just said bear. Well, you got to know whether it's a grizzly or a
sure.
black.
I'm
Because
thinking
there's
they got
two different
something to
ways to
see
do
and
it.
see
You know?
to shoot the grizzly bear.
This part to you, Rob, I see.
Yes.
No, but so I don't know. I've always, even when I played baseball, like I would be the guy that was. Like, I played really, really hard. Like, I was the guy that ended up with stuff all over my jersey. I would run into the wall, but I would also go play a joke on the coach while he would, Coach Sasser, he'd smoke cigarettes in the dugout. So, like, I would get done, go and run as hard as I could and do whatever, and then I came in the dugout and he had thrown a cigarette on the floor. So I went and grabbed it and went up to him and asked him, Coach, what are we doing? Like, and he was like, put that up. But that's just me. Like, whatever I do, you can say it's not being serious. I like to have fun. I like to be goofy. And nothing's going to change it.
Well, it seems like that it has, and it's hard to put a dollar figure to it or a productivity level, but if the fun meter doesn't rise to a certain space, the team concept doesn't work as well as it can. So kudos to the two of you for getting that part right.
Appreciate it.
And keeping the fun meter in the range. There's got to be a range, right?
There is. He does a phenomenal job at it.
Sometimes he has to bring, like you said, it can't just go here.
Episode over. Get back to work.
He keeps it so it doesn't get too out of line.
So you're married. You married to Ashlee.
I'm married to Ashlee.
And y'all are phenomenal. I
you.
was blessed enough to get to be a part of y'all's union. I was a witness to
you
your
married
vows,
us.
So you got it. Yeah, you can't mess that up or you'll be in big trouble. I married you.
You married us.
Which sounds weird when I say, Cody, I married you, but I actually did the wedding for the two of you.
You did good too.
Well, I
wasn't sure how it was going to turn out.
Y'all had.
I'm just kidding.
Listen, the groomsmen you had. I mean, you had a bunch of athletics. You want studs,
and then Zack.
And me.
Do you remember what Zack did when he walked in?
He plays soccer. Stop giving it up. Well, no, I don't remember.
You don't
what
remember?
He do? No.
It was the funniest part. It was his idea too.
Remind me.
We had our handshakes, and I just went hand up, and Zack jumped as high as he could.
I do remember
and it
that.
was quiet, and when his feet hit the ground, it was really loud, and the crowd went nuts. He stole the first part of the show.
So you're a Mosley grad. You're a local guy. You're a Bay High grad.
Bay High grad, yep.
You've played a little baseball.
He's 1B,
Yeah. He's 1B.
Yeah.
So
A little bit of baseball. Played some baseball.
You did, and you've done quite well at it. Did quite well at it. We won't probably go into the R.L. Turner thing because we're going out of time.
That's
but
fine.
We're both R.L. Turner products, local.
Yeah.
So you grew up locally. You went away, played ball at Auburn, at Montgomery.
Well, so I started off at George Wallace Community College. It's a small junior college in Dothan. Played there for 2 years. Really, it was my only offer.
Yep.
A lot of people don't realize that either. And it was actually kind of on like a favor. And I was kind of riding the coattails of my brother who had already been drafted and was a big name prospect at Alabama. And so it was like, oh, you're Trey Shields' brother. Yeah, we'll take you up here. And he had never seen me play. It was kind of just a whatever. So I went there, excelled. That's a pretty cool story as well.
Sowing and reaping, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely say that. And then I was a late bloomer too. So once I got there, I got better physically.
Dude, I'm kind of setting you up because, and you didn't know this, but I did look on Facebook a little, and you posted April 17th, give or take a day or two. Actually, it was the 17th that you got inducted into the Hall of Fame for the college.
But that was at AUM.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the process of it, and I may miss part of the story, but you literally said in the post, my baseball career is a God story.
Yeah.
Ask me about it when you see me.
Yeah.
I've seen you since then, but I've never seen you since I saw the question. Can I ask you, how does your baseball story point to a God story?
Yeah. So basically, and that's kind of where I was going, is the fact that
add as much to my question as you want to.
I will. And I'm going to try to keep it short because the long version is pretty cool. But basically what happened was I had no desire to really play college baseball that much. I got one offer that was my only chance. I went and did that. I get there and I was supposed to be a pitcher only at the time, and so I went and he actually let me hit for a little bit, and I did terrible in the fall. And because my dad was like, Coach, I think he could do it, and I went and I played terrible. And then in the spring of that year, 5 middle infielders got hurt at OW, which is now North Florida. And so they needed somebody. Well, they put in one guy when we were in Dalton, Georgia, or Darton College. And basically the first game, the guy didn't do good. I'm at the concession stand with all the other pitchers goofing off, and they said, Shields, you're in at second base. So I played really well, took that guy's position, and from that point on, I was the second baseman. Like we were talking about earlier, tall, lanky, wore a chain. I was the...
Man, I wanted to joke about that. You were the tallest second baseman I've ever seen in my life. Of all the things when I asked what position, I didn't think you were going to say second base.
Non-prototypical second baseman. And then we had like the
Hey, but it makes sense because you're such a good dancer, right? You're that guy. If there's music
I appreciate
playing,
it. Thank you.
The second baseman has to have good footwork.
Gotta
really
have some
good footwork.
And so it was me and Andrew Starrs, actually the coach at Bay High now. We were both Panama City boys, and we were the kind of the hip, not so Alabama-ish, wearing our gold chains and everything on the right side of the infield. It was fun. Anyways, and then I went to AUM.
Yep.
Went there and was still supposed to be a pitcher, second baseman, and everything. And then finally they moved me to the outfield.
When did you have the injury?
That was my senior year. Technically, it happened during my senior year, towards the end. And then, I had zero desire to get drafted. Zero desire. My brother he had just gotten done playing pro ball. Didn't have the best experience. Just didn't really enjoy it that much.
Yep.
So I had been wanting to play basketball. In the NAIA, you get a fifth year of an extra sport. So I was going to play basketball. I'd already talked to the coach. It was kind of halfway lined up. I was like, I'll either go walk on or possibly get a scholarship.
You look like a basketball player, not a second
baseman. Exactly. That's what a lot of people say, or a pitcher or whatever. So I always joke with Zach. I was like, Zach, if you play baseball, you would be the second baseman. He looks like a second baseman. Prototypical.
Well, and this may not be politically, but the Puerto Rican feel, man, they're known for baseball.
Got that,
we got the real dance moves, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, Despacito, man. So, and then I ended up having this. Here's the God part, right? Well, first of all that's the God part, but I didn't work that hard. I didn't do anything different. That's what's crazy. I didn't do anything different. I wasn't living right. I was living in a lot of sin. I was partying. I was not doing my schoolwork like I was supposed to. But for whatever reason, God blessed me with a senior season where my junior season I hit 323 or something like that. My senior season I hit 461. I didn't do anything special. And it was totally a God thing. And like as it's happening, it was like a movie because I didn't understand. I was a saved individual. I knew deep down in my spirit, I was like, why is this happening to me? Even though I'm living a certain way, like I knew it, and I was like, I don't deserve these blessings. What's going on? And later on, now that I can look back and I'm looking on it, it's provided me so many opportunities with young athletes since I've turned my life around, and I've kind of got over some stuff through, the battles through addictions and stuff like that. Now when I step into the room with some of these young cats, like they respect me. And I didn't do anything to deserve it. It was given to me. Like God just put that senior season on me, let me become a professional athlete, brought me back out. I was only there for 2 years. Didn't even really get to play in front of, I didn't even get a baseball card. But the fact that I didn't, but the fact that I was able to say I'm a professional athlete, and then now I still am able to go in there and kind of play some basketball and dunk it a little bit.
You can Google them.
Well, I read the plate. Today I've seen the post, but it's the first time I zoomed in on the actual Hall of Fame plate from the college. And not only did you hit over 400 and lead the team in triples, apparently you were a fast second baseman.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you were 15th round, 470th pick for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, and I that year I was blessed enough. I was the conference player of the year for baseball, but I was the conference athlete of the year as well. The reason I honestly feel like I can say that without bragging, because I mean it. I know it sounds cliche. It just wasn't me, man. Like if I would have went in, and this is what's also cool about it. If I would have went in and just worked hard in the weight room and just hit extra and all that, I could be like, I did it. But it wasn't me. Like it really wasn't. You can ask my coaches.
You told me nothing.
I'm serious. Call them.
You told me nothing's off limits.
Nothing's off limits, man.
So I want to make this real, not that it wasn't already. I remember talking to you a couple of different times during some of the more difficult spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a time that you were very isolated, and during the injury, you and I talked on the phone. You were separate from your team. We got to pray together, and I think that faith was an important part, even in that moment. I don't know where in the middle of everything you've described you were at that point. I know also that among those discussions later, face to face, we talked about, because I've got a little bit of a background, like my dream died early, but for me, it was crushing not to get to play ball past high school. My identity, because I played a number of years, was in baseball. Yeah. And I had to find a different identity. And what I've learned is whether you play a couple of years of pro ball or you play in college, whatever your identity has been in, if it's not in Christ, when that comes to an end, you got to figure out who you are.
It's tough, man.
And what's cool about today, as I said, man, can we talk about baseball? Because in those moments, I knew that one of the biggest struggles you were going to face is finding worth and value outside of that guy that everybody knew.
Yeah.
And now a lot of people don't have a whole lot of concept of how much ball you play.
Right.
Because you're think real estate. You're 1B.
I'm 1B, baby. I'm 1B.
Or you're B Cody.
Yeah, 1B Cody.
But I say that to say your faith has had a role in that. I hope it's not braggadocious. I'm hoping I'm not painting too positive a picture. But one of the coolest things for me, even at your wedding, is that you're one of the funnest guys around sober. Like you
a lot of people think.
Well, no, I mean you're not having to be under the influence of something to be the bear. Most people, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know that was one of it's cool to me because you've proven not only that you can be a Christian and a believer and have fun, but you can have a great time doing it His way. But for people that are wondering how did your faith help you with gaining an identity that was different than what you'd done? Because something happened.
Yeah, so I will say this: it was really difficult, right? I mean, I remember it was when I remember the day I got released. I was in the airport, and I took pride when I walked anywhere, and they were like, "Hey, man, what do you do?" I was like, "I'm with the Cubs," and it just felt good, like you had that, right? And I remember I was in the airport, and there was these two girls, and they were pretty good looking girls, and I was sitting there talking, and they were like, "Hey, what do you do?" And I go, I couldn't say anything. I had been released. I'd been released that morning, and I was like, I didn't know what to say. And I remember in that point I was like, what am I going to do? So yeah, my name's Cody. So yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So fast forward, I battled through all that, and then once I got out of some of those addictions and this, that, and the other, and I was like, all right, real estate had not came along yet, so I was like, I've got to find my identity in something. And of course, I was a believer. I knew where it had to come from. I just didn't know how to get it. And then once I cleaned my life up, and I realized, I was like, wow, I do have stuff to offer outside of having to be the party guy. And that was something else, is when I would go out and stuff, I was the guy on the dance floor. I was the guy in this, that, and the other. And I was like, wait, I still do that. It just might be in different places. It might be here, you know what I'm saying? And then I would be remiss if I didn't say this, right? I don't know if this ties into the question, but part of when you're trying to find out who your identity is, and part of is who you surround yourself with. And when I met Zack, I mean this, I'm not just, when I met him and I saw the drive that he had, like the whole work vibe, but then also like I knew that he was, I remember, I don't even get into that, but he encouraged me just through who he was. And I started wanting to be a better person. I wanted to be a better everything, because Zack came along, and where maybe some other people in my life might not had caught up to where he was. I was like, man, what is it? A rising tide floats all ships, or we were talking about yesterday. And I started hanging around him. And then I started hanging around some of his friends, and we kind of started our own little thing, and that's when I started finding my identity in Christ, man.
The local law enforcement officer posted the last week or two something about who you surround yourself with, who you become. And as Christians, we're always supposed to make an impact on others. We're not supposed to be hypocrites, all that stuff. But in the book, like Paul literally wrote, it's not just wisdom, but like scripture, that do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits.
For sure.
And I think one of the things that's fascinating about the two of you, you're so diverse, and it's what makes you so strong, is because you complement one another.
Thank you.
It sounds kind of gooey because it's true in marriage too, but you're both married, and as business partners, we're talking about leadership. One of the things that's something I learned a long time ago, even in economics course at University of West Florida, they were talking about being really careful who you partner with in business.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're so tied together. You talk about being unequally yoked. I mean, the fact that you're not married, but you're yoked in business. I mean, that text in Scripture about not being unequally yoked is not predominantly about marriage. It works in marriage, but it's true in life.
Right. And we talked about a lot of that before we got into business. I mean,
I want people to know about y'all, because I think it's helpful, and it's a shout out. And we'll probably put a link in the notes somewhere. You guys are both heavily involved in Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I think that matters. I mean, obviously you got families of your own as well. I want to, you guys are in the process of looking at adoption, you and Ashlee. Y'all have a ton of cats. Okay. I'm just going to say that, because Ashlee
four equals a ton.
Is that all? 4?
That's all we got now. Betty died.
Way to take that.
So who did you take for a walk? If we see your face,
that was Good News Bay. Betty died. Sorry. She was a good cat. She had 3 in the grave.
I don't know how to come out. Help me out.
She had 3 in the grave, 1 on a banana peel.
So you had one in the spaceship looking for a walk.
that is Sir Dudley Elijah Leopold Thomas Duke of Kestrel Park. That's who that one is. Okay. We've got LB in, well, a few more. Go ahead.
But I know the two of you want to have children of your own.
Absolutely.
It's been, and it is good news, because you guys have been able to walk this faith journey as well. You're still walking that faith journey. I think since you met, it was a post that the community loves you guys, and they've been so supportive. Have y'all, I know there was a little bit of an update. Have y'all made any progress in that? I know people are going to continue to pray for the two of you.
Well, progress is always being made, whether we know it or not.
God's doing what God's
doing. So is progress being made? Absolutely. Right now, there's been a few potentials, opportunities. So far, nothing has come through. We're still praying through it.
A lot of ups and downs and all that, right?
Yeah, there is. But I mean, honestly, like, it's kind of like when something happens, it's like, I don't know how people do it without faith, because if the ups and downs without knowing that He's in control, I don't know how people do it.
Well, I think it's really special for me to be able, because you are willing to be so open, and I know it's not easy probably for Ashlee when some of this stuff comes up, but I know, and I've talked with you privately about it, but at our house we had several miscarriages between Allie and Austin that we have, and it was hard. And men, I think in previous generations, they never talked about this stuff. And so it was really difficult. And I think that even as we look in Scripture, it always kind of lays all that at the feet of the woman or something. You know,
Yeah, I never understood that.
And it's a patriarchal thing.
No, I'm saying I don't understand men not wanting to talk about it. Like talk about. Like I don't link my manhood with infertility. Like I don't. It doesn't even in my brain. It doesn't even match for some reason.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You know, at the end of the day, you could hear 1,000 stories about people that have had struggles with fertility that after they adopt or do God in a moment when doctors said you couldn't, they do.
Right.
And God is the author of life. There's no question about that. The need for mentors with Big Brothers Big Sister, the need for adoption across the board, people that are encouraging others, and all those things matter. And I brought it up because I think from a good news story, people feel like they're there by themselves in it. They're not. There are so many people that walk through that, and it's so encouraging to me that you guys have had the strength to tell that story. And I want to give a kind of an encouragement as well. Maybe we can throw the link up there. One of the things I know you'd be proud of with Ashlee is that she started a new business.
Absolutely.
A new interior design business.
Homey design studio. Her and her sister Alex. Super proud of them.
And they may have helped a little bit with some of the look that we have in here.
Maybe so.
I wanted to kind of kid the audience, but I think I'd rather them just comment positively. This is the first episode with the Good News Bay sign and the logo on it, and so I'm ecstatic to have that happen, and hopefully the people that are able to see it and not just listening can do the same. I want to ask a couple things that I think are important, and I don't want to belabor it too long, but the content's great. You guys are fascinating. Saw a little video. I think it was part 1 on Facebook of where y'all came from, how y'all met. I even saw the little Cody was doing the whole cable exercise thing that you were doing whenever y'all met, working on your abs or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the middle of all that, there was a railroad sign with R&R. My guy Alex Gentili told me that I needed to ask you about where the name came from, and he said there was a God story behind that.
Sorry, I need to be real discreet. Do you see that right there? Is that,
yeah.
All right, gotta speak loud. Got you, dog.
Story.
He's so stoic.
Tell me where the concept of Reliant Realty versus Think Real Estate came from.
Yeah.
The light bulb came from somewhere.
Well, so anything with our marketing, anything with the code, that's all Cody's arena. That he's blessed in that area. But you know, we when we first, you know, you go through your life figuring out what your calling is sometimes, and you know, and we didn't know. I knew I always wanted to do a lot with my resources and make money and do things, but I didn't know what avenue that was going to be. I didn't know if it was banking, financing, insurance. I didn't know what that avenue was. And so Cody and I got together to you know, we I think, 2 years, 3 years maybe we planned?
It was over 2 years, because I remember we had a meeting about it. It was 2 years before. Yeah. Thank goodness we didn't do it then.
Yeah, so we planned this for 2 years, and, you know, the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing, and so we were waiting on the right timing. And when it comes to names, I'm not very good at creativity stuff. That's not true. That's Cody.
I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm gonna take you at your word for right now.
No, he's really good at it.
Iron sharpens iron. I'm around Cody more, and I'm a lot more creative than I was 3 or 4 years ago.
Do you mean that?
Absolutely.
Oh man, appreciate that.
But yeah, we were talking about a name, and I think we talked about Sweet Frogs, right? It was maybe. No, we talked about Fully Relying on God.
Oh yes.
Right?
I was like, no, we wouldn't have said Sweet Frogs. That one's already taken.
The bracelets and all.
And then we're like, Reliance Realty, and we started, you know, doing all those things. I have a holding my longest holding company I have is called Reliance Equities, and
that was the original LLC that we were supposed to use.
That was originally LLC we were supposed to use and everything, and
I haven't seen a dime of that.
You know, Cody, he calls me one day, and he's like, Reliance Realty. It's not it. Mm-hmm. I got it. I know what our name's going to be.
No, I didn't say I know what it is. I said, I don't know what it is, but it's not it. And you said, we'll figure it out. And I said, and the color's not red. And you said, well, you're the marketing guy. Figure it out.
And so there he goes. He came up with it. He can tell the story better than I can. But sometimes you just got to trust your partner. It has a sense
of veracity that doesn't have quite the hyperbole in it when you share it. I really like hearing it.
So basically what happened was I was like, well, I like the idea of, like, for whatever reason, I know God put it in my head. I was like, I like Sprint Mobile. I like Sprint. Why do I like Sprint? Boost. I was like, all right, well, they're all action verbs. They're verbs, and they're one syllable. And I was like, all right, well, we'll do what any millennial do. I'll just go. And so I Googled one syllable verbs.
He Googled one syllable action.
Yeah, I said one syllable action verbs, and it was like, you idiot. No, and it said there it was on the second page. Think, and I was like, Ashlee, I've got it. It's think real estate. And she goes, oh, that's cool. Like, think B. Cody Shields. And I had been doing that already for like 4 years because of Paul Calhoun. When he used to write his letters, shout out to Paul Calhoun, who's over at Century 21. Yeah. He was like a grandfather to me. He always told me, son, when you write this down, like when you write your letter, write when you think real estate, I would always put think D. Paul Calhoun. So you should write think B. Cody Shields. And I was like, would you be okay if I did that? She's like, absolutely. D. Paul, B. Cody. That's where I got it from. And so I have it on my truck. I've got it everywhere. So when I come out, everybody's like, dude, think real estate. That's so awesome. Had nothing to do with me. I didn't even think about it. No pun intended. Okay, it was a God thing. Literally, I think real estate was right there, and Ashley goes, oh, because I think it'd be Cody Shields.
Where in the timeline were the whole where's B. Cody?
Or the podcast?
Well, didn't you do this whole thing where you go different places?
Where in the Bay? Where in the Bay was I did it kind of.
Was that pre-think?
It was pre-think.
Okay.
Yep.
But you were branding your name then.
Mm-hmm. But okay. But we didn't know. I didn't know to.
Tell me. Not that you're more spiritual, but tell me about the light. To be the light. That came from someplace.
It actually did come from him.
I had a feeling.
He did. No, he did. He called me one day. And said, this is going to be our new slogan. We already had Paint the Town Green and Move the Dirt, but he called me.
Yeah, we've had some slogans, and we had the light bulb, and one Sunday morning when I was at church, they were talking about being a light and all these things, and I don't ever want to come off as somebody that says that it wants to cram God down your throat. I don't ever want to be that person.
No.
And kind of like Cody touched on, I just want to be the very best me, so that you see something different in me when you see me and you encounter me.
Right.
And so that's my hope. And I was like, we just really just need to be a light. That's all. If you want to take darkness away, just flip the light switch on. Literally, don't try to take the darkness away. Just pour light into your life. So I said, Cody, I think our new model is going to be the light. Like, we literally. That's our goal, is to pour light into this world and just pour as much as we can into it.
Matthew 5:14.
Indeed. I know you both well enough to know that you do very well communicating with folks that are not of faith, and we all should, because that's part. We're supposed to love our neighbor. We are supposed. When you guys are first thought of, I think, and it's hard from no pun intended, right? But when I get outside of what my knowledge of the two of you is, I don't know that you see Christianity branded all over everything. I do think that people that know you well know that that's part of who you are. And I think that people can tell there's something different. And I think that should be obvious. And I think you're not selfish at all about, or concerned at all about, telling them what makes you different. The scriptural piece that's so amazing is that Jesus himself said, I am the light. And then later he told all of his disciples, you are the light. And it's him and us. And I know that there's that principle is there within it. I also think that as it relates to Good News Bay, the really cool part of that is that we're living in a time in our community where staying positive is incredibly important. Mm-hmm. If I'm giving you a moment of confession, after the storm, I was down a little bit. Mm-hmm. We just opened up the new space a month before the hurricane hit, and we're having to redo the whole thing. I was out of my house. Living on the beach. Beach ain't bad, but it ain't for me. And you were annoyingly positive. Really, just almost annoyingly so. But I've learned over the years.
Yeah, no kidding.
You keep a positive perspective on things. You do.
I don't know how though.
And in some ways, I'm not taking anything, because you are a glass half full guy. One of the things I've also noticed though is that the folks, and some of those will be watching and listening to some of this. And y'all are really, like with C&G, you're tapping into a group that's much older than us. You talk about Paul Calhoun and some of these other guys. It's hit some of them differently because things that were a part of them their whole life, they've had to mourn some of those changes.
Right.
But with the world as it's continued to change with the pandemic, it's extremely important to look at all the good things that are happening. I joked this last week with July 4th. We all were fussing about the rain. The reality is we got trees down everywhere. The last thing we need is dry spaces for fireworks.
Absolutely.
So it rained enough. We could all light our fireworks, and boy, did everybody light their fireworks, right? Let me do this, and I'm going to ask Zack. I'm going to ask you to go first. And this is unscripted, but I want to hear, as we get ready to close this out, give me some of your most positive, favorite things that you see happening in Bay County right now. I mean, there's a lot of positives out there. You guys are in this industry. I'm talking to let you think for just a second. What are your favorite things that you see coming in the future that are happening maybe even now that they don't know about or that you think are on the horizon?
The people is what makes Bay County great. When I look at a lot of changes that are coming and things behind the scenes that most people probably don't know about, it's a lot of effort of a group of people that came together to do something great. And at the chamber dinner, there was Kyle Schutz's daughter was singing the national anthem.
Yes.
And she stuttered on her words. She stopped. She went drew a blank, and everybody in the crowd just started singing with her to keep her singing.
That's awesome.
And he said it best. He's like, that's why I love Bay County. Like, they came in to help.
Yep.
And it's just, you hear stories of after the hurricane, people became their neighbors. And I think deep down we all have good news in us and we want it. It's just buried. There's a lot of stuff buried on top of it. And it's waiting for somebody to reach in there and help it come out. And so I don't know of any. There's a lot of great things coming to, I don't know where to start, but it's just the people. I could echo that enough is I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the people that helped me get to where I'm at today. I could have a laundry list of the people that have supported me and prayed for me and helped me that all they did was just give me a word of encouragement.
Yep.
Good. So I don't know of any specific events. It's really just the people is why
That's
I love
a great
Bay
answer.
County. I mean,
it's the people of Bay County. It's the people coming to Bay County. We've got some really incredible folks that are hopefully going to take on the culture that we have here as well. What's your thought, Cody?
Well, I've got two. Of course, I don't follow the rules here. One, I'll just say quickly. Is in our industry we get to see a lot of the people that are moving in here, and we were kind of talking about this before. There is a ton of new people moving to the area, and from what I can tell, it seems like a lot of them are really solid, quality character families that are moving into the area, not just people, but families that seem to really match the Bay County value system, which is really cool. It doesn't matter. We have a ton of people coming from Colorado. Like, I've never had hardly any Colorado clients in Colorado, California, whatever, and they really seem to be matching Bay County. Also, I think something that's really cool is to see in Bay County, and I get to see it with our church, but just in general is I think the denominational walls of everything kind of coming down a little bit compared to what it was. I'm 33, so even when I was little, I can remember denomination being a lot bigger thing than I feel like it is now. And I think when that happens, I think some of it is attributed to the millennials, right? A little bit more open-minded and able to do that. But then also you still got your generation, but even beyond that, the baby boomers that are just totally opening their minds to stuff that goes against what they maybe are programmed to believe, and everybody kind of working together is really cool. And honestly, what I think happens is it allows the church to be the church. Not just individual churches, little c, but allows the big C to be able to help and get involved.
Well, we were designed to be together as believers in unity, and really not just for believers, but for the good of everybody around us.
Yeah.
It's good. I am so grateful that you guys have come on and talked faith with me. You've opened the door. You let me pick on both of you a little bit.
We got a gift for you.
It's been a great episode. You got a what?
We got gifts. We come bearing gifts. First of all, you get a Think Real Estate hat. Hopefully you can wear that out on the water.
I'm sure I can.
We got you a nice little Think Real Estate little fishing shirt there.
You didn't get drafted by baseball, but you got drafted for things.
You got drafted.
So does this make me almost sponsored as a bass fisherman?
Yeah, you have to come and say that. You have to say the prayer at every office meeting now.
Oh boy,
you're the chaplain.
How often are those?
Once a month. No, and then I'm gonna let Zack explain what this is right here. Okay. See that coin right there? It's a Think Real Estate Challenge coin.
Thank you, guys. This stuff is...
The challenge coin, a lot of times sometimes we don't have the right words in our vocab to express how we feel sometimes about someone. And, we can say, good job, I can get you a $100 gift card, I can do a lot of things, but I wanted that coin to represent, like, hey, I appreciate every little thing you do when people aren't watching. Like, you are bettering this community, and you are the reason, one of the people that are why I'm here in Bay County. You are the people that I'm talking about. And it's just the way I can say, hey, words and money can't describe what you mean. And so that's what I wanted the challenge coin to be, is, hey, you better me and you better this community, and I can't thank you enough.
That's awesome.
And we've had them for over a year, and less than 7 or 10, like something about 7 or 8 of them been given out.
Thank you. Little known fact, I consulted you before I started doing all these Facebook videos, which is not my thing. It's not my lane. It's not something I've ever even wanted to do, but I couldn't gather the people. And the only way I could get to them, and for the foreseeable future, was that route. And you have continuously encouraged me to get outside my comfort zone, and even some of this. And I'm grateful to both of you guys, and can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Well, thank you.
This is great, but I'm gonna cherish this. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for spreading the good news in the Bay.
Absolutely. Let's be the light as we make Bay County brighter, one conversation at a time.
Let's do it,
gentlemen. Thank you for listening to our podcast today. If you were encouraged by the good news, we would ask you to subscribe through Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Podcast, as well as YouTube. If you will subscribe, all new content will come your way. You'll get notified of it, and it'll help us to brighten Bay County. Thanks, guys.